All right, it's Wednesday, so you know what that means, boys and girls. It's another Final Fantasy VI Worlds Collide randomizer race. I am one of your hosts, the Schwantz27, and I am joined by my co-commentator, Dio. How is it going tonight?
It is going very well. How about yourself? I'm looking forward to seeing this race.
Are you a hologram or are you not a hologram? I just needed to ask.
I am neither, actually. If I say both, is that a better answer?
Yeah, that should be fun and interesting. I've never commentated with a Rockstar / hologram before, but here we are. We're doing Final Fantasy VI Randomizer. So the question I get often, and when I usually introduce these races, is so what's randomized about this randomizer? Well, there's lots of stuff. Nearly everything's randomized. The characters that you start off with, the magics, spells that you learn from espers, the bonuses on espers, where you get all of these different rewards. The bosses are all shuffled around like madness. The items in chests, the items in shops, all randomized. So it makes for a very fun, replayable experience. That's one of my favorite things about this game, Dio.
I definitely have to agree with that one. I really like the fact that they also randomized where all of your special abilities are. I always think it's great to get a character throwing aura bolts when they have no business doing so. I find that to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, so in this particular set of options, the goal is to defeat Final Kefka, obviously. And as you see on our runner screens, in order to unlock the final boss, you need to recruit 6 characters and find 9 espers. We are going to start with 3 characters, so let me put that on my tracker already so that I don't forget to do this. This is the easiest thing that I could do correctly. We start with 3 characters, so we have to recruit an additional 3 to get to 6 total and then find 9 espers. Unlike in other games where you sort of have to find key items, in this one, it's great because you could take any 6 characters and any 9 espers to the final battle.
Always a good thing to have going for you as well. Like, got any particular espers we're looking to see this evening?
Well, 2 espers that our runners will probably be on the lookout for are Golem and Fenrir. They counteract one of the most deadly attacks in the game on the final boss, which is an instant-death physical death counter. So those are going to be probably the 2 big ones. Esper summons are not that big in Final Fantasy VI. The magic power isn't that great. However, there are some that will definitely help us out in the jam in the final battle as we get going over there. You'll also notice that we have a Kefka Tower skip at either 9 characters or 12 espers. So if we go overflowing one way or another, we're going to find you. No, I'm just kidding. We are going to be able to go straight to the statues. That is a skip that we have to bypass all of the walking in Kefka's Tower and to get rid of the first boss in the tower. So we'll see if the seed ends up going that way. The first 5 minutes or so of any seed is a lot of looting and shopping. We give our runners 3 Moogle Charms, and any character can wear the Moogle Charms, so this way they don't have to take those pesky forced encounters. They can remove the Moogle Charm and grind if they really want to, but I don't anticipate us doing that depending upon what characters we have. I know Jack is a big proponent of let me fight a couple of early battles and then just run at everything. So we'll see what happens here as the runners are off and going. It looks like we got a dancing ninja, a grandpa wearing the tool belt, and we have Go-Go. So we'll see if
Go-Go.
Yeah, so Windsong has got landslide on that dance. That is probably the best spell that you want to see on dance. It's basically like a faster flare, so we're probably going to see Dance and Ninja a whole lot this early going. Jack, like I said, is just running straight at a check. He's heading over to the Zone Eater Cave. Squack is in Albrook. Drulith is reducing his party to 1, which means he's going over there too. And Worlds Collide has an interesting concept called character gating, where basically the characters will dictate which parts of the open world you can actually access. Think of it as, if you have a character's world event in the vanilla game, that's usually what check they open up. So in Gogo's case, Gogo is found in the bottom of Zone Eater. So if you go to Zone Eater with Gogo, then you're going to get a reward here. So I haven't seen anything yet in Albrook that jumps out at me, but we have both of our runners here in Zone Eater, and we'll see what's at the end of this cave here.
I really like this place. A lot of people really don't like the little dudes running around back and forth because they always knock you down, but I had a lot of fun always trying to get away from those guys. Of course, it's a whole lot more fun when you don't have to worry about encounters, because that was a lot less enjoyable in my opinion.
Oh, so it's Drew 1 and Jack 0 here on the bridge tosses, or rather the other way around. Drew 0 and Jack gets thrown over the top rope, just like we're in the Royal Rumble here, and onto the floor. I did see a Minerva come out of a clock, though, in Albrook. I wonder if either of our other runners will grab that Minerva. It's one of the best pieces of armor in the game, nullifies all sorts of elemental things, and Jack is just waiting for the green guys to go on past him. Meanwhile, Drew is almost all the way at the reward already. He just flew past this in a quick hurry.
It's great when you can get away with that. Not always possible, but great when it happens.
And we see Edgar. So that's character number 4 already for Drew here. Edgar has Sketch, which is not really a great ability. It basically is like a worse version of Rage, because you never know what you're going to get and if it'll actually hit or not. But without any Warp Stones, there is a walk of shame in Drew's future here.
Well, you can't always get them early on, and got to get out of there somehow.
Yeah, so Squack is heading into South Figaro, which is another popular place for early looting. There are, I think, between 10 and 14 chests in the basement, and there's a bunch of chests outside of the town. And when you are outside in the town, you could actually collect different treasure in the World of Balance and the World of Ruin, but down in the basement, they're actually shared between the worlds. And Drew is the first one out, as Jack really getting trolled there by the Bridge Chancellor. Feels bad, man.
Oh no.
Yeah, so let's talk about how fights work in Final Fantasy VI Worlds Collide. Obviously, with shuffled bosses, you might think, oh wow, you might find an endgame boss really early. How does that work? As Realm with Blitz, wow, is...
Oh, we were talking about that earlier.
Yeah, so Realm with Blitz is great. Blitz, most of the abilities with Blitz are based on the magic power stat, and Realm has the highest natural magic power in the game, so Drulith is going to sub out one of his characters. I didn't see which one. I'm assuming it's probably Edgar, but I didn't quite see. So Drew already has 5 characters. He has a lot of the world open to him, as Jack is going to pick up his Edgar right here as well for character number 4.
I believe Realm unlocks the Fanatic's Tower as well, doesn't she?
That is Strago unlocks Fanatic's Tower. So Realm will unlock Esper Mountain and Owzer's Mansion. So those are two. Esper Mountain is a very quick check. Owzer's Mansion is one of my favorite checks actually to take early on, because there are 2 forced encounters and then there's the boss. So you can level yourself up before you get to the boss. As I was saying before we got interrupted with the Realm acquisition, and Drew is not keeping Realm, I'm thinking maybe he's just doing it for the menu time at the moment. Maybe he'll throw Realm back in there later. So, enemies are scaled based on the progression that you currently have. With this particular set of options, the enemy levels are at the number of characters, the number of Espers, and the number of dragons times 2. So starting out in the game, you obviously get to 3 characters, so all of your enemies start at level 6 and you start at level 3. As you do these more world events or checks, if you do them that without a forced either boss battle or encounter battles, they're called free checks. So you could get a reward for free, but you also increase the scaling of all of your enemies. So you have to be careful to balance the number of free checks you have with the number of of enemies that you want to handle, as that is Realm pickup for Squack there on the bottom. That's character number 4 for him. So it's a pretty character-heavy seed early on with our free progression here. Now it looks like... I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying, so far, yeah, it's definitely a very character-heavy seed so far.
Yeah, so there is one more. There's one more free check that we could do with Edgar. That's actually the throne, and it looks like Squack is heading over to the world of ruined South Figaro. So interesting thing to note is that, like I said, you could reloot all of the outside chests. They're different between the two worlds, but if you have Edgar at the front of your party, you actually get half off of everything in the shops here. So we'll see if he puts Edgar at the front of the party before checking these prices, because he can get a lot cheaper stuff that way.
I mean, it is good to be the king.
It is. It's somebody's watched some Mel Brooks movies, I see. Jack is heading over to Figaro Castle, and unfortunately he has to land over on the grass because there are two things that hate sand: the airship and Kefka's shoes. So he unfortunately has to make that walk here, and we'll see what's on the throne. Oh, that's right. I've been pointed out in chat that actually Squack does not have Edgar yet because he did not go through Zone Eater, and it's another character on the throne. That is Cyan with Capture and Natural Magic. So I don't think we're going to see much of Cyan. But that's Jack in character go mode already at 7 minutes and 30 seconds into into the seed.
Are we allowed to call this going really fast yet? Because it sure seems like we're going fast.
Well, the thing is, Jack will probably run into a wall of very difficult enemies coming up, because remember, like I said about scaling, his enemies are going to be level 6 plus 0 plus 0 times 2, so that's 12, and he's only at level 3. However, I see something in the shop there. I see some half-price Super Balls. That is something that I would be looking to buy. So Super Balls do a random multiple of 256 damage to a random amount of targets. And with Go-Go on your team, you could actually mimic the Super Ball as many times as you want. So that might be our way through the early part of the seed here, Dio.
That is definitely a good find. You can get through a whole lot of bosses early on with a decent round of smoke bombs. And again, because like you were saying, we can mimic these things without running them out of our inventory. We can definitely clean some house in the early game with that.
Yeah, that's also in the world of Balanced South Figaro Castle rather. So that Edgar discount applies to World of Ruin South Figaro, and it also applies to the shops inside of Figaro Castle, both in the world of Balance and in the world of Ruin. And it looks like I dropped my phone. Sorry about that if you heard that, but it looks like we're going to be going for a go-go play here in order to mimic the Super Balls. We'll see what else Jack has up his sleeve here. But he is going to Esper Mountain. This is one of Realm's checks, and it's a very fast check. You could actually see what the reward is before doing it, so we call that a peekable check. If there is a character sprite, it'll be that character. If it's a soldier, imp, ghost, or I think those are the three, right?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah, then it would be a either an Esper or an item here. So
another place, if I'm remembering correctly, you can do peeks at is the mines north of Narsh, where whoever you might get at the Umaro check will occasionally peek out and stare at you.
Yep, if there's a character in a hiding hole, that means that you will recruit them at Umaro's cave. If not, then that's either an Esper or an item, and that is a soldier sprite. So thankfully for Jack, it's going to be either an Esper or an item. He definitely doesn't need any more characters. Drew's going to find his Cyan here as well.
Cyan is a good character in my opinion, but he doesn't usually serve a whole lot of purpose depending on which particular combination of sets you get on him, and that is sadly not a great combo for the guy.
Yeah, Cyan notoriously has very low magic power, so if your ability is one that's based off of magic, like a blitz, like a slot, something like that, then you're probably going to have a rough time. However, Cyan does offer 5 different checks. Some of the better checks in the game, according to runners, is that's a Genji Shield dead check there for Jack. And he does not have Warp Stone, so this is a Walk of Shame out. As Blink and you miss it, that was number 24 that he defeated. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just saying, hey, it's 24. He's out the way.
Yep. So I forget what the heck I was talking. Oh, Cyan's checks, right? So he has the Dome of Siege right here, which is a very quick check. You just can pop right in. You can actually fight these soldiers that are quote unquote storming the castle. They just look like they're throwing themselves at the wall.
Well, most effectively, casual. Just throw yourself bodily at the walls until you go through them.
And it looks like Squack ran into a bad encounter there at Alger's Mansion, is taking a death. Womp, womp, womp. It is Vargas and the Apple Toilets, the iPoos at the castle here. The unfortunate part about Super Balls is you can't actually target who is going to be fraud, and oh no, Squack didn't say that at all. So he's back at square one. Oh man. Oh, in the chat for Squack. Well, it looks like he at least knows what stuff is where, so hopefully he can cut out of some of his early looting. But yeah, you hate to see an 11-minute time loss there.
Yeah, no, that's a rough one, but I wouldn't be surprised. I've seen runners come back from far worse than that before, so this is still definitely anyone's game. We are, after all, only 12 or so minutes in.
And it's yet another dead check at the Dome Siege. That is a Ragnarok sword, though. And Edgar can naturally equip the Ragnarok, but so can Shadow. So how equipables work in Worlds Collide, and in this particular flag set, is anybody that could equip an item in Vanilla can in Worlds Collide. And there's also a 33% chance if you can equip it in Vanilla that you can in Worlds Collide. So that's why Shadow can swing the big sword, so it looks like that's what he's going to be doing. And it looks like Jack is heading up to the Floating Continent, which is one of Shadow's checks. It's a 3-parter. Lots of forced encounters here, 3, then 2 bosses before you get your first reward. So here's where Jack is going to get his levels. Drew is in Mount Zozo, one of Cyan's checks, and he's going to take the dragon here. The dragons are shuffled amongst themselves, so this is the red dragon, and Drew did not like that, so he is going to nope out of it. But thankfully, there is a save point, unless he pulled a Squack. Yes, we're going to call that now. You just got verbed. You just got verbed. And yeah, it looks like he did save right before that, so no problem here. There is a reward at the end of this, so we'll see what it is on Drew's screen. I don't think Drew has fought any bosses yet. And that's another dead check. So, lots of characters and lots of nothing so far in the seed.
That is, we were doing great there for about 8 minutes where the seed just went, here, please, take all of the presents. And that's all you're going to get, folks. I'm surprised to see a floating continent. That's not a check I see a whole lot happening. It is definitely a good one, in my opinion. There's a lot of good rewards out there because you don't see it happen too often. I believe, even if there's no feeling behind it, that you get better loot up there. But that is, of course, personal opinion.
Yeah, so Floating Continent is a 3-part check, and the first and third rewards will always be progression. It will always be either a character or an Esper. The second one can only be an Esper or an item. So Floating Continent usually has a lot of great value because you're guaranteed checks. You won't run into the dead checks like our runners have been doing right here. So that is one good thing about it. The other good thing is it's great for leveling your characters up. Lots of fixed encounters means that you cannot... or you won't have to fight bosses, rather, for XPs. That's a Genji armor from the Zen Thief, and it's the Stooges here for Jack.
Oh boy, it's Curly, Larry, and Mo. I'd say there'd be some nyuk-nuckin', but I think we only had one person find the suit for that currently. I don't know if that pun actually applies, but I always thought that was the joke. It's the nyuk-nuck suit.
It is not a squirrel costume. However, there is no Shempen. Wow, that is a 256 Super Ball to the target that you don't want. Yikes.
Ooh.
So one of the bad things about Super Balls, again, even though we love randomizers, we don't love RNG in our randomizers. And Super Balls can sometimes hit the target that you don't want to, and that is what just happened there. As in this Stooges fight, you want to take out the fire one first, the one in red, because because that one will both heal and revive the rest of them before taking out the other two. Alright, so
And
it
you
looks
definitely
like...
want to go ahead. Sorry.
No, my bad.
I was gonna say, and you definitively want to make sure you get one of them down as quick as you can, because a Delta attack even at these low levels is not a pleasant sight.
Yep, completely agree. Delta hit will basically stone one of your characters, and that effectively means that they're dead or KO'd or out of battle. And it looks like Squack is going to go into the Zone Eater Cave. He did not do this before he wiped earlier, so I guess he's wondering what this particular reward's going to be. He did not go and pick up Realm right away, which I think I would have, knowing Realm with Blitz. So we'll see if that was a tactical choice or if he's just going to wait. Because how Worlds Collide works, in this particular set of options, your characters join at your average party level, as we got 3 dead over on Jack's screen. This is not good.
This is not good.
He can pull this fight out.
Does the Super Bowl save the day?
Ooh, that is a wipe from Jack. And wiping on the floating continent never feels good.
No.
Like I said, there are great rewards, but there's also great risk. Because now he's got to go back and fight all those battles all over again if he wants to go back there. The good news for Jack is he has so many characters that he's got tons of different places. Oh, the places you will see. I feel like I'm in a Dr. Seuss book here. As Squack did not reduce his party down to 1, so he is unfortunately falling to the demigod that is the Zone Eater, RNG with Engulf. Drew is in Owser's Mansion, so he's going to run into that bad force encounter that Squack ran into earlier. Let's see if he's better prepared than Squack was. And Jack is in the Cave on the Belt,
Which is actually one of my favorite dungeons. Whenever I fire up around Worlds Collide, this is one of the first places I try to go if I have the ability to get in there. It's never actually panned out well for me, but I just always like to do it.
Yeah, it's pretty fast. There is a monster in a box if you're looking for, let's say, an offering or maybe some Minervas. And you can actually peek at what the reward is before you go and do the check. After you lift this lever here, you can actually take a look at what's on the ground. If it's a character, you get that character. If it's a Esper, you can get that Esper, and that's what it is. Jack will get our first Esper of the of the game here after defeating whatever boss this is. Drew is rolling the dice at the auction house, and it looks like glowing stones are available, says the doorman. So there is an Esper in the house, and that is not it there.
No, that is...
I'm sorry. It is a hero ring, though. But this, I believe, is one of the $10,000 items. So Drew is... I think he didn't buy it the first time around. I don't think he'll buy it this time around. The $10,000 item will only increase the chances of an imp robot coming out, which is the unpurchasable cutscene thing that everybody hates. Jack finds another multi-part boss with number 128 here. So lots of multi-part bosses, not good for Super Balls.
Not particularly. It's they can be really handy with some of these guys, but you do have to luck out and get in the right spot.
Yep, so my tracker is once again correct, as I didn't reset it upon the save. Squack is going to pick up his 4th character here with Edgar.
I believe that you mentioned there was a $10,000 item in the auction house. I recall items going a bit more expensive than that for the vanilla game. Did we do something to alter how that works?
So in the auction house, there are 4 different rewards or 4 different items that you can buy. One is $50,000, one is $20,000, and there are 2 $10,000 slots. The $50,000 slot is always an item. The last $10,000 slot is always an item. It is the $20,000 slot and the other $10,000 slot that can be an Esper. And in this case, it is one of the $10,000 slots, it looks like. Nope, this is definitely the $20,000 slot. The $20,000 slot, that is the Esper Crusader. So Drew getting on the board with a Magicite early here at the auction house.
Crusader, one of the more powerful summons in the game generally. Dangerous, of course, because it hits everybody, not just the guys you're trying to hit.
Yep, it'll hit everything on the screen, which is your own party, and it looks like there are two espers actually at the auction house here. Drew is trying to get the other one. This is going to be the smaller item. Is he in the World of Balance? He might be in the World of Balance auction house, which is why all of my math is thrown off. But I don't think so. I think he's in Jador.
Well, he's definitely in Jador, but I believe
you're right.
all the balance.
That was a bit of a slip of the tongue there. Jack, meanwhile, is looking at what's at the bottom of the floating continent. That's an imp sprite, so that's not a character there. We don't have Strago. Strago is who opens up Fanatic's Tower, not Realm. I know that you had asked that earlier, so I'm not sure why he checked Fanatic's Tower.
Well, I've seen some Stragos running around.
We do have Strago. I'm sorry, we started with Strago. I forgot about him.
You know, that happens a lot. Don't feel bad. Poor guy. Poor guy.
Yeah, Strago checks are not the most well-liked by the Worlds Collide community. They are rather long most of the time, and the Fanatic's Tower, rather, is the only one that you could actually peek before looking at it.
Right, and Hidden's Rock, excuse me, is I mean, it's a big time consumer, and given how randomized it can be to actually get the necessary pieces of coral, you can't really bank on how much time it's going to take to get there, which is even less fun when it turns out to not actually have something good at the end of it.
Yeah, the RNG dungeon, it's weird. Runners like randomizers, but not randomness inside of the randomizers, right? It's the same thing with the Super Balls, but Ebbets Rock can take anywhere between like 30 seconds and 3 minutes and 30 seconds, and it always feels like the latter. Jack
definitively.
is in Cyan's dream running to Ifrit. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just concurring, sir. It definitively feels way longer, no matter how long you're in there.
Drew actually picking up the second piece of Magicite there in the auction house. He's still at level 3. That is a Strength +2 and a Magic Power +1 Esper, so that's one of the reasons why I like doing auction house early is you get the Esper bonuses now for the entire duration of your playthrough. So that's great on him, but he's on level 3. He's got 6 characters and 2 pieces of Magicite, so that means that his enemies are going to be at level 16 while he's on level 3, and we already know from Squack that this first encounter is not a pleasant one, so we'll see what he does here. Jack getting an Aegis Shield, another dead check in the dream.
That is, you know, I mean, it was a lot of fun going through there. Lots of pretty artwork. We even get the little scene where you run around in the magic armor, but I don't know if that's a good score. I'm going to go with no.
Yeah, at this point, you're really looking for Espers, and in Cyan's Dream, which is one of Cyan's checks, obviously, it's a 3-parter. The first and third parts can only be Esper item, so since Jack needs Espers, this is a smart place to go. I didn't see the sprite that was running at the train, but I'm assuming it was a NPC sprite because he's continuing on with the dream here. So that means the next check will definitely be an Esper. And we'll see if Drew defeats this boss here in Esper Mountain. Meanwhile, Squack going for a Hail Mary play at the Burning House. He knows that he lost 11 minutes, so he's thinking nobody's going to be doing this check. Maybe I get something here that the other runners don't. That will put me back in the race here.
I think this is definitely a good play, trying something that not only we haven't seen, not that they would know that, but trying something that doesn't necessarily have a huge risk if you move quick enough, and definitely has the potential for a decent payoff. And, you know, it's an excuse to go to Thamaska and take all the various loot they've got running around in town. Always a good decision.
Yeah, Burning House has encounters that you can dodge, but just like in Dodgeball, you can't really dodge a flame all that well. So it'll be interesting to see how many encounters he actually does run into here. But the other thing is there's no save point in the Burning House, and if you can't beat the boss at the end, then you've lost all that time as well. So that's why this is a bit of a risk-reward play here. Drew does get past, I believe it was number 24 in Esper Mountain for his Genji shield there, and without some Warp Stones, also the Walk of Shame here.
Seen a lot of that today. It looks like Warp Stones have not been something the Seed wants to give us very much.
Yep, it is a NPC sprite, and it is the level check for Jack. Let's hope he's not level 5, because otherwise this is a party wipe, and it misses everybody. There we go. We can continue onward with our journey. And Drew just wanted some extra treasure, it seems like. He did have some warp stones there. There are 3 additional pieces of treasure in Esper Mountain, but 2 of them are easily accessible. The third one you gotta walk all the way back around for. And it looks like, following in Jack's original footsteps, Drew is heading into the Dome of Siege. You actually get a heal after you defeat this fight, so it's a good choice to go here, and then you'll be healed up before you go into your next encounter. Doomgaze is down on Jack's screen.
I do like that now that Doomgaze is no longer flying in the skies above the world of ruin, he can't run away from you anymore.
Yeah, so I wouldn't even know how the mechanic would work in Worlds Collide, because I've never turned that flag off. But I guess you would just win the fight if Doomgaze runs away and get the reward. I'm not quite sure how that works, but in Worlds Collide, we do make it so that Doomgaze does not run away from your fight. You do have to defeat him, and it makes him one of the worst bosses in the game, because he's got a ton of HP, and he's got very high defense, both magical and physical. And that's 2 more Espers there for Jack, 1 for defeating Doomgaze and 1 on the throne. And it looks like he's doing some extra diving into treasure chests as well. Note to self and to others in the chat, don't go to that room until after you defeated the boss, otherwise you'll get a long cutscene. It is very heartwarming, with Cyan actually telling his wife that he loves her, but nobody wants to sit through that cutscene. Seraphim's got Fire 3 on it, though. That's a good one to find there.
That is a very good one to find. Any 3s that you can get as quick as possible is always a good find.
And it looks like Swack is making his way through the burning house here. I don't know if he didn't read the dances properly, or if maybe he doesn't have the one with landslide on it, but we're taking a look at the other dance here. Has got Wind Slash, I believe, or one of the windy AoE attacks, which is also a really good one. Having both of his characters berserked is never fun, though. But when the sandstorm comes out, it's do-do-do-do-do time, everybody. Alright, I'll see myself out after that one.
I mean, I'm not sure if we're actually allowed to do the song, man, but we absolutely can if you want.
Oh, I'm sorry, SpeedGaming copyright, my bad. So Jack is in Jador as well. He sees glowing stones are available, and he takes a note and says, maybe I'll come back and get some later. But first, I'm going to go defeat a painting in the mansion there. Yeah, so as is pointed out in chat, you can mimic items even if you don't have any more of them with Go-Go. So Super Ball mimicking Go-Go is definitely the way to break open the seed. However, we haven't gotten a lot of progression here. We've gotten a lot of items that are high tier. There's been a bunch of dead checks, but not a lot of rewards. And we'll see if Jack gets past this encounter, which Squack had a lot of trouble with. Well, Drew is definitely following in Jack's footsteps, going to Cave in the Belt now as well.
I mean, it was a pretty good place. Not you know, not like when I play. But if we can make it through the encounter we have over here on Jack's screen, we're going to be doing pretty well for ourselves. Or at least, you know, he will be, assuming he can make it through the rest of the process here. We do have a boss to fight at the end, but I usually find a lot of good loot here in the mansion, so I'm hoping he will be able to find some as well.
Yeah, there's a couple of chests in here, and there's also the optional drop-down chest that you could fight for more encounters, and Drew digs in the monster in a box, finds Gigantos, one of the better monster in a boxes. Gigantos is the most XP per level out of any enemy in the game, if you could survive all of the throat jabbing that goes on here. So he'll be happy to see that. And Squack looks like he is finally at the end of the burning house to fight a Haydn and the Haydn Knights, everybody's favorite jazz band.
It is everyone's favorite jazz band, in fact. I had a joke for the song he played, but I'm afraid I lost it.
It's called That Girl Is Poison, actually, because that's really all what Haydn does, is a lot of poison attacks and confusing attacks. There's the Confucia Claw, which is bad, going on to Shadow there. And, oh no, he started dancing. He's going to hit his entire party with this Wing Slash. Oh my goodness.
Oh no!
See what happened.
Oh no!
And Haydn also will revive your parties as zombies, so this has gone from bad to worse here. So Squack needs to get his party back up. Jack does see Setzer paint in the picture, and it is the Opera House Ultros as the boss here, but weak to fire, and we have Fire 3. That means we're gonna get some nice octopus for dinner tonight. Always love to see that.
That quick too. It looks like it was takeout because he didn't want to stay around long.
All right. Well, Setzer does open up 3 new checks. The Search the Sky is Doomgay's spot. He opens up Daryl's Tomb and the Colin Janin. He does have Rage, and in Worlds Collide, you don't actually have to do the loop on the belt in order to learn Rages. You automatically get them after defeating enemies, so we'll see what happens here. We got more confusion going on Squack's screen. This is a very difficult fight, and the worst part about it is Go-Go doesn't have any abilities queued on their menu, so that feels bad. If you go to the status menu, you can actually fill out your menu for Go-Go abilities, and it's yet another Ultros Jack searching the sky. This is Ultros number 4 with Chupon that will blow you away.
Oh no, it's allergy season up in the air.
Yeah, I hate to have Chupon giving everybody COVID here, but we'll make sure that he doesn't get the upper hand. Weak to ice, Chupon is. Unfortunately, I don't think we have any ice spells, but hitting Chupon with sharp sticks will also work.
Most things in this game are pretty weak to sharp sticks if you hit them hard enough.
And oh, there it is. Finally, Squack gets poisoned to death from Haydn. And like I said, the Burning House has no save point in it. So that means that he just lost all of that time in the Burning House after also losing all of that time in the beginning of the game. So we'll see what happens here. And it looks like Squack is going to take a forfeit from the race. His stream is still going though, so we'll cheer him on.
Absolutely.
And go drop him a follow. He's having definitely a rough go of this one. So give all of our runners a follow. Actually, they are the ones putting on the show for us. We're just chilling here, talking about it. They're the ones actually doing it. So.
That is very true. And most of these guys, of course, will run other things as well as this later points in time. You should always check out the folks we run here. That is just a good decision to do. You'll get quality content every time.
Yep, it looks like Drew is following the Jack playbook into the dream. Jack is in the world of Ruin Narsh, and he picked up blocks along the way.
Apparently, well, he has capture.
Locke must have been at the Colin Janin, which is where one of Setzer's check is, and it's either an Esper or a Valiant Knife, and he picks the Esper because he needs the Espers now. I assume he's got 8 characters. I don't see it on his tracker because he doesn't have one on his stream, but gathering from what I know, I'm betting that Setzer had Locke, and now Locke has this. Curse Shield at 8 battles. I'm not sure if it's worth doing that this late in the seed here. Dio, what do you think?
Well, personally, anytime I find a Curse Shield with under 10, I'm willing to take the risk for it either way, even if I haven't found a ribbon yet, because in my opinion, the payoff for getting the Paladin Shield is just too good to pass up. If I see double digits, though, I'm usually not going to go there, only because I may not be able to get away with throwing 2 or 3 additional fights in, and then be able to tack on a boss fight or 3 at the end to get it to pass on, you know?
Yeah, so the Curse Shield, when you have that many particular battles, whatever the number is, it's randomized in this game. Certainly not the 255 that it is in vanilla. But If you could find something like a ribbon or a peace ring that will allow you to actually control your character, or my favorite strat is put a heal rod on your curse shield users, so then they'll just whack you with heals every single turn. Then it might be worth it.
That's fourth dimensional thinking, man. That's genius.
Yeah, that's my favorite thing to do is heal rod, curse shield on cursing strats. Because the curse shield will inflict all sorts of nasty elements on, or ailments rather, on your characters, including Berserk and Confuse. So Confuse will make it so that your character just hits your party. So why not hit your party with the heal rod?
It stands to reason. It makes perfect.
Unlike in the vanilla game, though, it does not teach Ultima in this particular randomizer. Or at least in this seed, we have disabled the Ultima spell, because otherwise the seeds would just be glowing blue blobs the whole time.
That is probably correct. I know if I don't have Ultima unchecked on my game, as soon as I get it, that is about all I do. I won't lie.
Yeah, it makes seeds pretty boring. You do have to have the MP to cast it, and it is a rather slow spell, but it is an easy mode spell because it hits everything, it ignores magic defense, and it does full damage to every target, so it's basically like the win now button, if you will.
A little late, but we get to see my personal favorite NPC in the game, our little turtle buddy. I love Turtle Buddy. I like to think it's the one guy just moving around the different quests like you are, doing his own little turtle adventure to try to survive. I have no idea why I think that, but I really think it's important.
Well, Jack in Daryl's tomb reads that Carbuncle sleeps here, so that is an Esper reward. However, he has to face off against Magimaster. And you see the power of Magimaster right away, and it looks like Jack is going to say no right now. His party is not configured to take on that fight.
One of the hardest fights to find in any point in the game, really, is that guy. He is never fun to deal with.
Yep, Magimaster will change his elemental weakness, and he will absorb one element and nullify the other 6 every single turn. So unless you have either non-elemental spells or defense-ignoring physical attacks, of which we do have Drill, which is defense-ignoring. We do have Pummel, which is defense-ignoring. We might have Super Roll still, I don't know, question mark, but all of those will ignore defense, but Jack just thinks it's not worth it. It's going to take a very long amount of time. Let me come back later when maybe I've learned the Berserk spell to go fight him. Meanwhile, Drew making easy work out of Doomgaze after passing his level check, and we'll get his 3rd and 4th Espers of the seed?
I believe so, yes.
Nope, he will get his 4th and 5th.
Ah! Thank you, Track.
Yep, my tracking is off today. I apologize on that. I must have missed when the problem was we've seen so many dead checks that to get actual rewards is something I'm not prepared for yet.
That is fair. It is mildly surprising because it has been... They gave us a bunch of us in the first 5 minutes or so, and then they decided they didn't want to anymore.
Yep, so even though Jack has done way more checks than Drew, and has more characters, Drew actually has more Espers than Jack is, so Drew, in spite of being behind in, check quantity, has surpassed Jack in terms of check quality with more Espers here, and we'll see if the Edgar route of doing the engine room followed by Ancient Castle will pay off for Jack. You do get to see what the sprite is before he waltz all the way down to the engine room, and it was a soldier, so he's going to be good, and it looks like Drew is thinking the same exact thing, so this is great. 40 minutes later, and we're basically in sync between our runners here.
Just about, and I'm pretty sure I saw a Gingy Glove down there as well in the engine room. Always a nice find, in my opinion.
Oh, some fixed dice as well, pulling that out.
Oh, so that's a double score right there.
Yeah, so Gogo, who did have the enhancer, is now going to use the fixed dice.
We were saying earlier that most runners don't like RNG in their seeds, but I believe the fixed dice is a mild degree of an exception there.
Yeah, it's still kind of divisive within the running community because it is very slow, and as you said, it is very RNG based, right? Sometimes if you roll a 1-1-2, you're going to be pretty mad at yourself for equipping the fixed dice, and it does take a while to roll the dice. However, it can be very powerful because it actually does damage based on the dice rolls and your level, and not necessarily your strength or the battle power of the fixed dice. So it's something that is sort of a wild card. Again, it's very RNG swingy, and we'll see what's up with Go-Go. Magre is asking, was that a Ragnarok Sword or Esper? That was definitely the Ragnarok Esper for Jack. I don't see what was on it yet, but our runners tend to usually look at their menus when they are about to fight a boss, so we might not know until this save point down here or right before potentially fighting this dragon down here.
Underground cave going on as well. Actually, on the note of the underground cave, I've always kind of wondered this. I've never seen a runner try to use the hidden path on the step to go to the basement of the underground castle. Is there anything even down there in Worlds Collide?
I'm not actually sure what part you're referring to.
So this is from the vanilla game. I apologize for the deviation. But when you go to the underground castle, there's normally 2 espers in vanilla. You find an Odin, and then if you locate a particular pixel square underneath the throne room, it unlocks another door you can go through to find a queen statue and turn it into Raiden. Is there anything down in the second part of the check in Worlds Collide? I've never seen anyone go down there.
So there is no first part of the check in Worlds Collide.
I say that as Jack seems to be trying to do it.
Yeah, so there only is this hidden part here where you go and collect the second reward here with the dragon, and it is the white dragon. So white dragon is susceptible to mute. I don't know if we have that or not, but it would basically nullify the white dragon. But yeah, I'm sorry for the confusion. I wasn't sure what you meant before. But yes, in Worlds Collide, you have to step on the tile and go down into this secret passageway basement in order to collect the reward here at the Ancient Castle. It's only 1 reward and not 2 like it is in Vanilla. In Vanilla, I believe Odin is on the throne, and then if you press the pixel and you go downstairs and you talk to the statue, it then dries up and it becomes Raiden.
Yes, that is how it works in the vanilla game there.
Yeah, so in Worlds Collide, you only talk to the statue where you would get the Raiden Esper in vanilla.
All right, then. Looks like White Dragon was not too much of a hassle.
Do you have to fight Odin in the vanilla game? I don't know. I know you have to fight Ifrit and Shiva.
I don't recall fighting Odin. I believe that there's a certain boss fight that like triggers when you leave after collecting Raiden, though. I think. It's been a long time since I've 100% of vanilla.
Yeah, so Jack does pick up his 9th character down there with Sabin, and you do see the message pop up on screen that Jack has completed his Kefka Tower skip. So Jack has the Kefka Tower skip requirements. However, since he has not unlocked Final Kefka, he actually cannot beat the game yet. So he has to wait until he gets his 9 Espers here. So Jack has got his skip, which is good, but he still has to go get those 3 Espers as we get sort of a virtual high five on the way in for Drew, on the way out for Jack here of the Ancient Castle. And it looks like Drew is going to the monster in the box here. Correction from chat, the fighting is actually from Final Fantasy IV. I've never played 4. I actually haven't played any of the Final Fantasy games outside of 6, and I've watched friends play 7, but I'm sort of a Final Fantasy illiterate person here.
I highly recommend checking out Final Fantasy IV, but that's for a different stream.
Yes, I've also heard that it's great. I guess for me, and you know, we could go off topic here because we are retreading on old ground as Drulith does pick up the pugs, which have a chance of dropping a Minerva. Let's see if he actually gets it. Nope. But learning all those spells is nice.
It definitely is.
To me, 4 looks more like a Nintendo game than a Super Nintendo game, and I guess I'm just snobby enough to be like, I don't like the way it looks, you know?
I can sympathize with the difference in how they were able to use the graphics engine back in the day. It is still a really good game, but I totally sympathize. There's a couple of good SNES RPGs that unfortunately didn't quite make the graphical leap over the years and just kind of fell by the wayside. 4 is a lot of fun, though. I do highly recommend it if you haven't checked it out.
Yeah, I do like the sprite graphics of the 2D Super Nintendo era. I don't like, if you ever watch the the OG Final Fantasy VII graphics, those are horrific. Like the early 3D games have really bad graphics.
The only days polygons were a terrifying time, yes.
Anyway, collapsing house is where Jack is. That is one of Sagan's checks, and there was a merchant holding up the house. So this is an Esper or an item only, and we'll see which one it is for him. And Drew is fighting the white dragon. So dragons are scaled like the other enemies in this game. Of course they're scaled, duh, they're dragons. Anyway. But they do give you tons of XP. They do give you 50 magic points to learn spells. They will drop their vanilla rewards, which are usually pretty decent items, and they will also drop a high tier item from defeating them. So, for instance, White Dragon will drop a Pearl Lance, and in this case, an Experience Egg, which is great to put on, your Blitz user, because if you get up to level 42, you could then have them go learn Bum Rush, which is one of the most powerful abilities in the game. Drew, however, decides to put it on to Shadow there, which I believe is not the Blitz user. I don't recall what Shadow is doing for Drew, but you must want to get levels onto Shadow.
If I remember right, Shadow has Dance, and Realm is our Blitz user this time around.
Yeah, I would assume that he is not doing Dance anymore. Maybe he's doing some physical attacks, right? Because we saw Jack use the Ragnarok for Shadow, so maybe that's it. Jack finding some snipers, though, in the world of Ruin to Zen Weapon Shop. One of the better items in the game can do a 3 times damage proc on floating characters, or floating enemies rather, of which a lot of the game is floating, including most of the final boss. And then it'll do a 1.5 times damage to other non-floating targets if they proc, so he's picking up a sniper for one of his characters to use, not sure which one it is yet. So we'll see that, and Drew is going to take out Presenter in one go. Where's Hoodat when we need it? I think I saw him over in Jack's stream earlier. But gets a Dragon Claw out of that. I usually do like to instant death Presenter if I can early, because Dragon Claws, if you can't use them as a stat stick, you could definitely sell them for a good 15 to 20k.
That is true, and depending on where you're at in the seed, you may need the money far more than you need the item.
Yeah, you can't take it with you, so fire sale at our house. Unfortunately, it is the spicy chicken for Jack. If you've got your emotes, now is the time to bring them out. If you are a subscriber of the Final Fantasy VI Worlds Collide Twitch, you have access to that emote, and Jack decides, I'm not going to fight this boss, it's pretty difficult. So he's shied away from Magimaster and is shied away from Poltergeist. So Jack looking for the easy route here.
Well, on the plus side, he does know where 2 of the, more aggravating bosses are currently located. I'm a little disappointed he doesn't get to eat any spicy wings today, but,
Well, that's a good thing to bring up, because the bosses are shuffled, right? So that means that both Magimaster and Spicy Chicken cannot be in Kefka's Tower, because we know that there are in other spots in the game. There are still some hefty bosses that can be in Kefka's Tower. We have seen Doomgaze, we have seen the Stooges, so we've seen some other beefy bosses here, but there are still others left.
So, which boss are you always the least excited to find? Like, if you have a particular spot going forward as well, maybe.
I'm very adamant about this. My least favorite boss is actually Air Force. Air Force
Oh,
is one of the only bosses in the game that could literally decide you're dead, right? if he does Launcher, which reduces your entire party's HP to almost nothing, and then does one of his AoE attacks next, that's basically a game over right then and there. And there's lots of different AoE attacks that he does have: Atomic Ray, Diffuser, um, Wave Cannon, Shrapnel. So it's a that fight can end very, very badly rather quickly. He's sort of a glass cannon, though, which is the saving grace, is that it's sort of like a DPS race, you versus Air Force. So that's it for me. What about for you?
Personally, and this sounds so silly. This is a bias from being a kid with a Super Nintendo. I really hate Vargas. And his friendly little bears. They're not a difficult boss fight. They're not hard, but he was always a gateway point when I was a child. And when I play Worlds Collide now, every so often, if I find him late in the game, he hasn't changed much.
Well, it's fun to point out that unlike in vanilla, like in vanilla rather, you can end that fight right away if you use Pummel on Vargas. You just won't get as much XP as if you fight him the regular way. However, he is a multi-part boss. Those bears can do a special attack called Claw that does a lot of physical damage. It could hit you very hard, and Vargas actually has a lot of HP because in vanilla, the way you're supposed to do things, you're supposed to use Pummel. And as a result, he has a ton of HP to kind of force you in order to learn Pummel, right? Versus actually beating you down the normal way. So Vargas can be very, very time consuming depending upon what your offense is. Especially if you have offense that isn't targetable, you could end up hitting the bears instead of him, right?
Yeah, he's not necessarily a difficult boss, but man, does he get on my nerves. Although it looks like we've got some worms in the waterfall this week.
Yeah, you're supposed to dry out pasta before you serve it, but I'm not sure about this. But Drew takes care of it pretty easily, knowing that the bottom left one is actually susceptible to instant death is always a great thing there. Fun Bobber was the boss that we saw Jack just take down. I missed what the reward was. It looks like it was a Magicite, so he's up to number 8. So Jack just needs one more piece of magic in order to beat the game here. And Drew is going to dust himself off and get a Valiant Knife at the bottom of Barren Falls. So it looks like we got some even more offensive options there. Go-Go can equip both the Fixed Ice and the Valiant Knife. So
Did Genji Glove earlier as well. You might have Go-Go as a powerhouse in this one.
Yeah. I've never done Genji Glove, Fixed Ice, and Valiant Knife. That's a new one.
One of the most, I forget who was actually doing it, but I at one point in time, I saw somebody run 2 pairs of Fixed Dice with a Genji Glove and an Offering, and I wasn't sure what I should call that other than rocks fall and everyone dies.
What you call that is a bathroom break because it takes so long to roll those 8 rolls of the dice. Yeah, everything on the screen will die, but you'll be there for a while. And remember, this is a speed run after all, so sometimes you have to sacrifice ease for speed. Both of our runners now, 54 minutes into the seed, are at the same spot. Love to see it happen.
Always. This was one of my favorite areas of the game, actually. I really liked the Magitech base. I liked the idea that in the vanilla game you were able to suddenly get re-access to the Magitech armor again. And, I do like it here as well because it's a couple of guaranteed encounters, but you get a nice quick peek at what you're looking for in it very early on, so if you're not worried about it, you can reset out. And generally, I just seem to have good luck with the enemy encounters here, but again, that's just me.
Yeah, this is one of my favorite things to do early in a seed. I'm one of those runners that I won't take the Moogle Charm off. I will gravitate towards fixed and counter checks early in the game, so that this way I could level up sort of naturally that way and not have to waste my time grinding. There's only 4 encounters here, and like you said, it's peekable, so this is This is a good one, and that is Jack's go mode there. That is the Odin Esper. That is number 9 for him.
And a Kefka. Oh wow, this this got a lot closer to being over, I do believe.
Yeah, so Jack does already have both access to the Kefka's Tower skip and access to Final Kefka, while Drew needs to find one more Esper after this check. Remember, he's going to get number 8 here. It remains to be seen. Jack, it looks like he's going to go take a dragon here in order to get some more levels under his belt. Let's see what his levels are looking like here.
Mid-30s ain't bad.
Yeah, it's still a little low. I would consider 30 is a little low, because remember, he's got 9 Espers and 9 characters, so his enemies are going to be 18 times 2, which is level 36. So he is actually under-leveled compared to where his enemies will be, so it's smart of him to take on this dragon. Yeah, you'll increase the scaling, but the dragon will give you more XP than the scaling will increase here. So I do like this play, and it is unfortunately a vanilla dirt dragon at the Opera House.
It doesn't look like anybody's got float. The dirt dragon, he plays dirty. He likes to hit you with a whole lot of earthquake moves that sweep across the whole screen, hit most of the party, and if I remember right, can also make you go slow.
Yeah, so there you see the sniper procs coming out from Realm. Dirt Dragon, as is a dragon, is floating. Actually, not all of the dragons float, which is an interesting fact. I think that the kanji term for dragon is actually dinosaur versus, scaled reptile thing, which is why a lot of the sprites are actually dinosaurs versus actual dragons. But
yeah, it always struck me
wrong.
That tracks. It always struck me as kind of odd that the dirt dragon that doesn't have any wings is one of the dragons that is floating and doesn't get hurt with things on the ground. That's another Valiant knife, it looks like. But dirt dragon being able to float always struck me as funny because he doesn't have wings.
Yeah, Dirt Dragon is the most annoying dragon in the game because, like you said, he does Earth Elemental style spells, including Quake and Surge and Magnitude 8. All of those don't hit things that are floating, so you think, hey, let's cast Float on my party and then we'll be alright, right? Well, Dirt Dragon actually has an ability called 50 Gs where he can remove your float status. So the programmers knew what they were doing when they programmed Dirt Dragon.
They did.
Did Jack get an offering, or was that Squack? I don't think he did. Jack is notorious for not really checking Monster in a Boxes. Drew has been checking basically every single one of them and still has not found what he's looking for. Sorry, you two. But we have Storm Dragon over here on Drew's screen.
Oh, that was a bad one, man.
Every once in a while, I pull out an interesting one. Yeah, there was a Minerva in the Relic Shop clock in Albrook. Squack pulled that out at the very beginning of the game, which is great armor.
Yeah, that is some of the best armor in the game right there.
So I wonder what Jack's looking for. What are you looking for, Jack? I write down lots of notes here on my little Google Doc, just to make sure I know what the heck I'm doing.
That is a very good thing to do.
And more fixed dice. So many weapons.
Well, I believe that puts Drew with the capacity to double load fixed dice, although, as you keep saying, that's probably not the wisest of ideas, because that does go the slow.
Yeah, Drew can kill basically everything on screen with most of the stuff that he has. We've seen, I think, almost every single Tier 3 spell. I've seen Fire 3 and Bolt 3. I don't know if we have Ice 3, but we definitely have Ice 2. So we're pretty good in terms of stuff. Jack leaving a couple of characters on the airship. Somebody's got to drive it, right? And
That's right.
Looks like we're up at the Tritalk spot for Drew, which is only an Esper item, and since Drew only needs Esper number 9, this makes sense here. And it is my favorite punk band, Rasopus and the Piranhas. So in the vanilla speedrun, this is sort of a bathroom break. You wait for an audio cue. But in Worlds Collide, we've actually randomized the amount of time that Risopus takes to come out between 5 and 55 seconds, and it always feels like the former, not the latter.
That is a great way to keep people on their toes by not letting them know exactly how many piranhas they got to go through. Did we also make it so that they get more XP for the more piranhas they go through?
No, so it's a fixed amount of XP for beating just the last boss at the end. And I think I said that wrong. It always feels like it's 55 seconds and not 5 seconds.
Well,
I
it's
swear
definitely.
I can English. I'm a commentator after all, aren't I?
Well, he's definitely taken. I can never say the guy's name right, but Ripzaz has definitely taken his sweet time coming out today. What it looks like. Didn't want to come on stage, having too much fun in the green room.
Well, Ripsass is R.I.P. There it is, and so is Jack. Apparently, Flame Eater not messing around there. Actually casted Flare Star, and Flare Star is a spell that's based off of the target's levels, and with Jack having some levels under his belt means that he fell flat on his face there. So he's going to have to dust himself off and try again. For Drew, that was not his Esper. That was a dead check there. I tried talk. The good news is he did do another dragon, so he gained some levels. The bad news is he was really hoping that that was going to be his go mode there. Because Jack, even after having reforming the party, is still not only ahead of Drew in Kefka's Tower, but he's also at the skip. So he's not going to have to fight the first boss and walk all the way through it as well.
Yeah, there is, if I remember right, potentially 8 different bosses going through Kefka's Tower, counting our big guy at the end as just one single boss. And not having to go through anywhere near as many as that is always a good thing.
I don't know if Drew is trying to get motion sickness or if he's probably looking for the Doomgaze spot. So he did not find Setzer apparently along the path. Remember, Jack has more characters than Drew does. Looking at Drew's checks, I don't see his checks on his tracker. I don't know if there's any great ones for him left that he could peek.
I don't believe so. If I recall correctly, he's already cleared out the auction house, and we didn't have anything in the woods behind. I can never remember the name of the town, but the town with the collapsing house. So, all the easy checks I'm aware of, at least, are not, or something I believe he's already gone through.
Yeah, well, maybe it's a Fanatic's Tower time. Like, we know that there's an imp sprite at the bottom, which means there's definitely an Esper there, because Fanatic's Tower cannot be a dead check. However, you have to walk all the way up the tower and all the way down the tower. Square had a fetish for stairs, I think in the mid-90s, between this game and the Shinra Tower. And you can only use magic inside of Fanatic's Tower. But you can peek the bottom reward. There is a dragon that you can fight, and there's a high-tier item at the very top of it. So it's one of those, yeah, it feels bad, but there's also some interesting things going on. Jack tried Flame Eater once again, and he's down to one party member in Dream already.
Well, there is Ice 3, at least. That answers that question.
Yeah, so we have all 3 spells, and Jack getting knocked over once again from Flame Eater here, so he's going to have to find a solution on this. Otherwise, it's giving Drew the time to catch up, and the Phantom Train is the answer for Drew as he picks up his 9th Esper. He does have to complete the Phantom Train. You do pick up your reward in the caboose or the Phantom Train if you want to, which is great to peek because you know exactly what your reward is, but you still have to go through this one fixed encounter and then the boss at the Phantom Train, but definitely worth it because you know exactly what your reward is.
Phantom Train, also a personal favorite, has nothing to do with suplexing the train, I swear. Absolutely nothing to do with that whatsoever.
The best meme in all of memes, the suplex of the train.
One of the best memes I think Squaresoft ever accidentally came up with was the ability to suplex the train.
I don't know, are there any other meme moments from any of their other games? Let me know.
Well, since you were mentioning the stairs earlier, in Final Fantasy IV, there was a notorious stairs glitch that was actually such of a problem on one of the original cartridge releases that there were articles in gaming magazines that came out with apparently the Square, write-off of approval, indicating that that was actually like, the mystical powers of, I want to say his name is Golblez, doing bad things to you, like...
They made the glitch canon. I love it.
Yeah, no, it's not a bug, it's a feature.
Oh, incredible. Alright, well, Drew is going to pull on the choo-choo, and it is unfortunately Rex Soul and the Soul Saver, so unlike in the vanilla game, there is no zinger concept in Worlds Collide, or at least in this set of flags, so you're going to have to actually take down Rex Soul. You can't use the vanilla speedrun strat of using Raiden or Odin to kill everything on the screen. But we've got lots of stuff to throw at it, so we'll be good.
Yeah, that was another one of the bosses that used to really be frustrating in the vanilla game when the little guys would start possessing you and you'd have to, kill your party to get the guy back out. But when you go out here in the forest, it's a lot easier.
You could actually, so Sigma is disappointed about the lack of suplex. If you do have Sabin and you do complete the Phantom Forest, you could actually, or the Phantom Train rather, you could go back into the Phantom Forest and reload the Phantom Train and fight the actual Phantom Train, because as memes go, there is an objective in Worlds Collide where you can suplex the train for a reward if you put that particular objective on your list, and Jack, finally, 7 minutes later after he entered the tower, is done with Flame Eater, just as Drew is just about to enter. But remember, Drew is starting at the beginning and not at the skip, like Jack is.
Good thing to see. Third time's the charm for you there, Jack. Good job, bud. Flame Eater, not a pleasant fight in most instances. Definitely not somebody you want to see here this late in Kefka's tower. He's going to have far more hit points and damage output than you're really going to want to see. One of the perks of this randomizer is you get to fight bosses that are at much higher levels than you would never encounter them at, and that is absolutely a good thing. Please don't let my obvious sarcasm confuse you.
Yeah, so just as hard bosses are scaled down, easy bosses get scaled up and they do some interesting things. Flame Eater, like I said, Flare Star is considered a fire elemental spell, but again, it's based off of the level of the target and not the level of the caster, so it can do a ton of damage to your party if you're not careful. And the fact that Flame Eater is only damaged by ice and water and has pretty high but not really high physical defense means you got to be prepared. We do have Ice 3, but still, those high-powered attacks of his don't go unnoticed, and Jack found that out the hard way.
Very much so. Now it looks like he's on to fight another boss whose names I can't pronounce, Chatternook.
What's the matter? You don't have a slice of ham and Chatternook on your sandwich?
I mean, he strikes me more as like something you would put on a steak, like that Worcestershire sauce.
Yeah, we'll figure out how to pronounce that another time. But Chatternook in Worlds Collide, it actually spends more time in the demon form than in the vanilla game. In the vanilla game, this is just a real time waste. In Worlds Collide, it's kind of a time sink too, but not nearly as bad as it is in the vanilla game. He'll counter basically every attack with lightning spells and will occasionally throw a water spell at you. But he is weak to Pearl because it's a demon, and Fire because it's a painting. Don't attack the girl part because you can't kill the girl part. Jack is going to beat it with the stick though, and unfortunately, he doesn't have any lightning protection, so this might get ugly depending upon what Chatternook decides to do here.
It definitely could. Drew trying really hard to catch up here as he's tearing through different parts of the tower. Got a bit of a ways to go, but he is kind of gaining on Jack here a little bit. This is by no means a finished race yet.
Yeah, anything can happen in a Worlds Collide race, right? The final Kefka battle itself takes about 10 or so minutes, give or take. And there's so much time that you spend waiting for the cutscene beforehand and in between the transitions between towers that you could catch up pretty fast if you're quick enough. And it looks like you got Dullahan over here for Drew. This was the boss that, remember, Jack got to skip over because he had to skip.
Another one of those bosses I'm not a huge fan of finding at later levels there. The pearl that he will throw out, I swear he does it more consistently the higher level you get.
Yeah, Dullahan is another one of those super weird bosses where the sprite tells you, oh look, it's a chariot being pulled by an undead skeleton creature, so that must mean it's weak to it's weak to Pearl, right? Well, not exactly. It uses Pearl. Well, that must mean, you know, we could undead it, right? Nope, that's not true either. Wait, you're telling me this thing is floating? It's a chariot. Like, what's going on here? So, lots of weird things about Dullahan there. It's actually weak to fire and absorbs ice, which is interesting because it's a chariot on fire. You wouldn't think it would be weak to fire.
Yeah, nothing about the character sprites indicates its weaknesses at all.
Yeah. Most of them do in this game, but that one is just the exception, not the rule. It is Super Behemoth over for Jack. Now, the community, we affectionately try and figure out what SR stands for. Is it Sir? Is it Super? Is it Scrontium? Is it Senor? The world may never know.
I was always told it was Sir back from the giant, like, 400-page Prima strategy guide we used to have in the days before GameFAQs. But they always called him Sir, and you know what? That struck me as logical, because I have the feeling that he wants you to call him Sir.
Well, he doesn't have a cane or a top hat, so I'm calling him Super, because in this game there are 3 different types of Behemoth enemies. There's regular Behemoth, there's GT Behemoth, which is Great Behemoth, and then there's SR Behemoth, which is definitely Super Behemoth. Not Scrontium, not Sir, not Senor. But you know what? I'm willing to make whatever Behemoth you want, because we're having fun. We're making this up as we go along. This is back in before the days of voice acting, so we even pronounce characters' names all differently. For some people, it's Celeste. For some people, it's Celes, right?
It was always Celeste for me. The one that got me, due to the time in the world when I was playing this game, is Edgar is the king of the kingdom of Fargo. It was probably 20 years before I actually realized, wait, there's an I in there.
So you're saying that Edgar's gonna have a good time, eh?
Well, I mean, not if he goes down south. You know, you got to deal with a couple of problems getting between here and there, but if you can make it the whole way.
Oh yeah, a little bit of Fargo and Minnesota nice. Speaking of nice, it's Tritalk over in Jack's spot. Tritalk can only be damaged by defense ignoring stuff like the drill or fire. And unfortunately, I think Strago is the only one that can damage the boss here. He just got frozen. So that's not fun.
That is not.
However, just defeating Senor Behemoth, he does have access to the Senor Behemoth Rage, and that does fire 3. So if he can keep Setzer alive, and that's a big if, then he might not have a problem. Go-Go does have a Valiant Knife, though, so maybe all hope is not lost here.
Right, he's definitely got a fighting chance. Drew over here trying to catch up, taking through Chatternook. He'll be getting there. Looks like he's doing a whole lot of damage output, even if he is only, down to just Shadow.
Yeah, using quick strats in order to take multiple turns at once means that Chatternook is not going to go back to the girl form. Definitely a lot faster of a fight for Drew than it was for Jack there. So, clawing back, eating up at some of the time here, especially with one of your characters frozen, as Jack is, and the other one's dead. So, little time losses here and there will begin to add up.
Yeah, we definitely still have anyone's game going on here. I gotta say, though, as a child, I didn't know what Tritalk was supposed to be. I always thought he looked like a wizard dude that was frozen in a block of ice. I was really shocked to find out he was basically a magical peacock.
He looks like a fossil. to me.
I can see that, yeah. But I always thought with the little beak in the head at the top there that he just looked like a wizard dude that had been frozen still, you know?
Yep, and that is Jack's last boss down. He's going to go heal himself up and step on the switches here. Drew nipping on his heels there with some quick strats and taking 2 turns at once in order to take down the second phase of this behemoth. The second phase is actually susceptible to instant death, so that's why you see Drew casting Doom unsuccessfully, womp womp. But Quick gives him another turn, and that is Jack stepping on the switches at 1:15:45. That was a 15-minute and 45-second or so Kefka's Tower. With a skip, that is not a great time.
Well, we got to remember, too, he did unfortunately end up going down to Flame Eater. I believe it took him the 3rd try to get it down, so that was definitely going to eat up a bit of the lead that he had gained there. Going into the cutscene, it looks like it's about time for the baddest guy in Final Fantasy history to prove why he is the best of bad guys.
That was more like a Scooby-Doo laugh. I don't know what I was doing there. Anyway,
you got the end part of it down really well. Like I believe it.
If you fake it till you make it here. So Jack's going to set up his party. We do have 4 characters that we've been using all game, so that's what you're going to see. The character that you put in the slot number 4 is actually the character that goes first on tiers 2 through 4. So just in case you're wondering how they figure it out. And if you don't leave anybody in the extra slots, as Jack did not, he only entered 1 through 4, you actually get a random character to sub in if one of your characters is dead in between tiers. So let's talk a little bit about this final battle here. 4 different tiers. The first tier has 3 different parts. The long arm susceptible to instant death, so that's why we saw Exxon come out. The head with death counter with Quake, so you want to kill it before you kill that arm with the fist there. And that's exactly what Jack's doing here. This is all physical attacks on this particular tier, so this is sort of the armor test at Kefka's Tower. If you've got armor, ye shall pass, in other words.
But if you don't, Gigagaius here is totally going to make you go back and try it again. Because you can't convince me that's not the thing at the top of Mount Woe in Chrono Trigger.
Well, the face certainly... I mean, dude, the face of the guy at in Chrono Trigger. What is the boss? I don't even remember what was the boss called.
Gigagaius, I believe is how you say it.
Gigagaius, yes. That dude's facial animations were ridiculous. Like, I'm like, you guys left this in the full game. Like, you realize how stupid this looks, right? But
I think that might have been the point. But first stage here, usually not too much of a hassle as long as you don't get caught by a deathquake. Make sure nobody dies, and up we go.
Yeah, the physical attacks can really hurt, so you could back row your characters in that particular tier in order to make sure you have some extra safety. But tier number 2 is on the way. There's 4 different parts of tier 2, so it's finally a fair fight. The thing in the middle, underneath the cloak, can be instant death. That's tools, so we'll probably see that happen again as well. The tiger does all sorts of nasty spells and is weak to ice, so that's what we usually want to take out first. Is will zombie our party, can confuse our party, can freeze our party, all sorts of fun stuff.
None of which you want to see at this point in time.
The ponytail-looking guy all the way on the left that looks like he's pointing off the screen, that's Magic. Cast magic spells, as the name implies, but hilariously can be muted so that it gets nullified. I don't know if we have mute or siren. We'll have to see when Jack pulls up his spells menu here. But that's one way to take care of magic. And then the blue guy, Blue Man Group, he death counters with 10 physical attacks, so we want to make sure we have enough health for when that happens. And a notoriously bad combo that I love is Magic will cast Quarter to bring your party's HP down to a quarter of what it normally is, and then 10 hits will just punch you to death. So that's never a fun thing. Drew on the statues at 1:19:40. So that was a 12-minute and 10-second Kefka's Tower. So even though Drew did not get the skip, his Kefka's Tower is actually shorter than Jack's here. And with him going to Tier 1, it is literally anybody's race now. This is exciting, Dio.
Absolutely. We've got Jack still dealing with tier 2 here, and Drew is just about to get started on the first round here. We'll see how quickly he can tear through Giga guys as well. The one thing we really don't want to have happen on the band floor is there's lots of characters in this game that are really nice, but all of the blondes in the second round of this fight really aren't, so we kind of just want to make them go away. Hopefully, Tiger won't end up with another barrage of status effects. HP has been a little bit low on Jack's side here. He might end up in a real pickle if he ends up accidentally losing a character until we see Life 3. Never mind.
Yeah, Life 3 is great. I don't know if we found either Golem or Fenrir, so Life 3 will definitely be our combo's protection for Tier 3, but it also helps against Tier 2, as we get one of those sweet, juicy sniper procs from Realm, doing 4.5k damage there. But he's got to be careful with his characters, because the health is getting pretty low.
Very, very much so. But, fortunately, the next phase is kind of the nice one. It's not, but it kind of is. I really love that, the game introduced the idea for when you do the final boss fight, you can theoretically use your entire party by, someone dies and they'll just sub in. That's really neat. You as a child were probably complaining about not being able to do that at multiple points in the rest of the game. But once we get here, yeah, we're not big fans of that.
Yeah. Well, the problem is, unlike in the vanilla game, Worlds Collide, we're not using any of the secondary characters for any period of time, because we are not forced into side quests where you can only use certain characters, right? So you usually want to stick with your core 4 characters, which means if one of them dies in between tiers, you're in deep trouble. As Jack has gone 3 down, make that 2 down now, so he's going to have to get his party back up. I don't know if he's got a lot of cure spells, so maybe he's thinking, you know what the best cure spell is? Life 2.
Life 2 is far and away the best cure spell, can't lie. Drew making it up to the dance floor as well here. He wants to have fun with all the blondes that came to the club today.
Yeah, so an hour and 22 minutes into the race, and we are almost at the same point here, so this is pretty exciting. It looks like Jack is finally taking care of magic, because he casts a bunch of dispels upon death. We haven't gotten to him yet, but we're certainly getting there. And then Tier 3 is challenge and beast all its own. It's got 2 different parts. One part absorbs all elements and heals and brings back to life the other part. And the other part does nasty stuff the whole time. And ouch, is that a party-wide quarter? Oof, you hate to see it happen.
Ooh.
Oh man.
That is not a pleasant thing here. I don't think the dance floor is having a whole lot of fun right now.
No, well, Jack did shy away from beating Magimaster, but had he beat Magimaster, he could have gotten himself a Mega Elixir, which can heal your party to full HP and MP. That would come in pretty handy right about now, but it looks like Jack may almost be done with magic here. Magic on his death counters can't actually kill you, so that's why Jack is just saying, screw it, we're just going to go for it, and we'll deal with the next tier when we get there. And that is Tier 2 done for Jack, on to Tier number 3. Drew is not that far behind him. I think he has one of the 4 down at least. He's got a full set of... Speaking of dancing, he's got a full set of dances there on his characters.
He's got all the moves. You'd think these guys that are trapped on a pillar would appreciate some good moves. This is, after all, the dance floor.
Yeah, so opening is Merton. Let's hope that... Oh, no. Oh, he's got Life 3, thank goodness. Whew. Man, that was almost a disaster there for Jack.
There was definitely a little bit of tightening up for that particular instance. That was, whew, way to get by there, bud.
Again, the best hero is Life 2, so it looks like that's what Jack is going to do, and Drew is on to Tier number 3 as well.
That is, Drew is definitely catching up to Jack here. He's been, I think he might have a higher potential damage output. I think he's going through these a bit faster than Jack is.
Yeah, I wonder if that has to do with his levels, plus, because he did take an extra dragon, and he's got Shadow swinging that Ragnarok for almost damage cap here. Unfortunately, the Merton gets to everybody on Drew's screen as well. Yikes. This tier 3 is not playing today.
No, it is not.
Bahamut coming out for Drew. That is non-elemental damage, so that will damage Lady up there. It has quad 9's HP, so that means that we've only got a couple more thousand to go, and then we can start wailing away on Sleep, who does nasty things under 40,000 HP. Rather, he has 40,000 HP, and will start doing nasty things under 10,000 HP, like casting and countering with Meteor, as well as Train, which does blind and mute your party. And unlike in Vanilla, blind actually matters in Worlds Collide. We fixed that bug as well. So we'll see how both of these runners decide what to do here, as we've got one character down and 2 in critical health for Drew. We got Jack, who's gotten his party mostly back up here. Realm is a little short on health. We'll see if he's got enough damage to break through the Meteor phase here for Calmness, but he's already got his life 3 going, so that's what he's going to do to counteract Calmness. We'll see if Drew does any of the sort, or if he just goes for it and hopes for the best. Well, there is Calmness, and it is blocked by Shadow, but Go-Go is unfortunately taken down. And Drew overtakes Jack here on Tier 3 to head up to the final battle here against Kefka.
Oh boy. Top of the mountain, let's meet our friendly neighborhood flying clown.
I'm glad that somebody got the reference of fixing the glitch in the from Office Space there. So Final Kefka has a little bit higher than 60,000 HP, and he will start countering with things like Hyperdrive and Havoc Wing under 30,000 HP. Under 10,000 HP can counter with Ultima, which is something you never want to see. Will not counter during his charge up for his ultimate, quote-unquote, ultimate attack Goner, and will cast Fallen One before the 30,000 HP threshold if you don't get it on round 1. So it looks like Drew is going to want to heal up his party here, and Calmness does hit Go-Go on Jack's screen, but the life 3 does save, and Jack is up to Final Kefka as well. So this is an execution battle now.
Yeah, and Jack's advantage here is he does have his whole team. Drew has been stuck with our friendly samurai, Cyan, with his whole 500 hit points of, here guys, let me use items!
Yeah, he is going to be our item slinger here for this particular fight. So there comes Fallen One, everybody's at 1 HP, and nobody's got a Mega Elixir, so what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and make sure to heal up the relevant people in our party, and for us, that's Shadow and Realm over on Drew's side, as look at that, almost damage cap per swing with that Ragnarok from Shadow.
Yeah, Shadow is carrying some weight on this run today. He has decided he does not like Kefka, and he is going to do something about it.
Jack, meanwhile, getting the sniper procs, those sweet, sweet sniper procs here, is the charge for Goner up from Drew. It looks like he's going to use Quick on Shadow again to get in a couple more near damage cap swings. And we'll see if Drew actually gets to Goner, or if he's going to actually get it in time here.
Man, you just love to see that almost damage cap on every swing. Like,
ooh, and there it is. Drew does get that. He finishes with a time 1:29.12. That's a GG for Drew. Awesome job. We'll see if we can get Drew in for an interview here, as we see Jack is just swinging for the fence here on his charge up for Goner. And it looks like we got a little Revenger action going on. Oh no, this is Goner, I'm sorry.
yeah, no, I didn't think we had gotten any of our desperation attacks.
Yeah, so unfortunately that's going to be a party wipe for Jack, but surprise, but wait, there's more, Billy Mays. That's like 3. There is train coming out. Famously, Mantra will clear your statuses for train. So we'll see if that's what Jack decides to do. Unfortunately, his realm gets Havoc Wing there, and he's stuck with just Shadow left.
Yep,
Needs
good.
to build himself up a little bit.
Throw the elixir out. Let's see if we can make this work.
Yeah, so Donner is Kefka's magic attack that he charges up for, but it does deal split damage, so it's important to have more than one party member up during this Donner charge here, because then it won't wipe out Shadow totally. It will instead make sure that he will at least survive, because 3,000 HP would be good enough for a split Donner, but definitely won't be for an unsplit Donner, and that is an excellent juicy flare proc there from Jack.
Yep, very, very well timed there. I know you can't really control it, but it's always great when it happens right when you need it. And that looks like we're going to call it there. Flare saves the day.
The flare proc coming in huge clutch there for Jack. So that was 129.12 for Drew, 131.01 for Jack. Jack is wondering in the chat how many wipes he had this particular stream. We will find out when we go back to the VOD and count them all up. In the meantime, let's drag in Drew Lip, our winner of tonight's race. GG Drew, congratulations.
Thank you, GG's.
Very nice run, man. Good job.
So before we talk about this run, I also want to give you a congratulations on your win at SGDQ 2022. It was awesome to see our community represented on the big stage, and I want to thank you for volunteering yourself to run the flags and be a part of that. That was an awesome, surreal experience watching it live.
My pleasure. You know I'd do it 1,000 times over if I could.
Yeah, so do you have any initial thoughts about this race before I dive into my notes that I have here?
Let's see. Lots of dead checks. Lots of really hard to find espers. Doomgave was in a rough spot, but I didn't have a problem with it. Offense was decent. Found the XP egg, so that was good for me. I think there was potential for probably like V-Knife offering, but I didn't do it. So yeah, it seemed like a pretty open seed actually. Like I think you could win a lot of ways with this one.
Yeah, I did see you search in basically every single monster in the box in the game. And you did not find the offering. You did find pugs, but didn't get any nervous from that as well.
Yeah, that's far for me.
Lots of weapons. So let's talk about the beginning of the seed. You went to Jador when you got Realm, and you did the auction house very early. But you also wasted a lot of time in there getting both the espers. Do you feel that the auction house is better early, or was the time worth it to spend to get those espers that you got out of the auction house?
Yeah, I'd say that was a pretty good auction house, all things considered. And yeah, they're actually pretty efficient. Like when you think about how long it takes to do a check, like on average, maybe like 2 or 3 minutes, maybe 4 or 5 for some of the longer ones. So like if you can get those espers, you know, like 2 minutes each on average, or like 4 or 5 minutes for the whole auction house, or even 6, I still see it as being pretty efficient. And yeah, getting those espers early on is better, and that's actually the reason I did it so early this seed, because I did all the free progression and I noticed I had no espers, and I was like, well, I want to have, like, whenever I fight these bosses, I want to have something I'm building towards. So just went to go grab those espers and ended up finding a few good spells, and plus magic, only +1, but that's still good. +2 strength ended up being kind of handy. You know, Doom ended up being kind of handy. So yeah, I'd say it was really worth it overall this seed. I felt good about that play.
Yeah, the Esper bonuses, when you get them very early, they will incrementally, or exponentially rather, help out your characters here. And then the only other thing that I had towards the end of the seed was you were sitting at 7 characters and 8 Espers, and you were giving me motion sickness, man.
Yeah. Yeah, I was looking for Doomgaze. There's a slower strategy that's a bit more guaranteed where you can like scan the entire world map, but it takes like 6 minutes on average. Or maybe it's more like 5, but it can take like up to 6 minutes. And
what if I told you that Setzer is a character that Jack got?
well, that makes sense. I just I was really set on my party and everything. I'd like just been like I'm not gonna skip. Like I was over it at that point. And yeah, I mean, I just gave it 2 minutes. It's like I'll just fly around for 2 minutes. If I get it, great. If not, I'll take the 2-minute loss and just go back and checks. I figured it was worth a gamble just because of how tight the espers were, and like I knew that was going to be the fastest one if I got it, and it might have been worth going for. So.
All right. Well, other than the quick work you made of Kefka's Tower, you actually did Kefka's Tower quicker than Jack did, and Jack got the skip. So that's sort of where your time caught up. That and your offense in the final battle was a bit more potent. So you spent about 12 minutes in KT versus Jack spent about 15 and a half minutes. So that's sort of what happened there. You were actually behind Jack for most of the race.
Oh, well, I guess the offense was backloaded then. Or...
You have no idea. What
my offense was pretty good all throughout, but I did have quite a lot of damage on that Ragnarok. And whenever you have quick like that, you know, you can always just think of quick as your Genji glove. Like, you don't have to swing 2 Ragnaroks. You can just swing 1 Ragnarok with quick, and it's just as good.
Yep. So, Dio, any thoughts that I haven't covered here for Drew?
Not that I can think of offhand, man. I thought you did a really great job on the run here. Very impressed with the catch-up that you did to be able to get back ahead there. Is it just me, or is Shadow probably just one of the best characters in the game, you know?
I think he's definitely one of the coolest. He's very, you know, he's like a ninja. That's pretty cool.
Right?
Can't knock that. I mean, we don't talk about his equip permissions, but at least he could use Ragnarok this time.
Well, he was also dancing ninja this seed. There was one dance that we started with that had landslide, which could have been great. I saw at least, I don't know if it was you, but it was definitely Squack then who was using dance a lot early in the seed.
Yeah, I would have used dance, but I unfortunately found super balls, which meant that all these cool little fancy commands just didn't matter because super balls are meta right now. So I just used them.
All right, well, any other final thoughts before we talk to Jack about his run?
No, just thanks for having me. If you watched the GDQ run, thanks for tuning in and supporting the community. I'm really proud of everybody, and I don't think it could have gone any better. I mean, the graveyard shift was a little unfortunate, but our international audience got a good experience, I'm sure, and yeah.
Yeah, the VOD on YouTube has a lot of views, so even if people didn't catch it live, I'm grateful that, you know, the YouTube VOD is getting up there in views. A lot more views than a lot of the other games from that event, so that's good.
Yeah, that's a nice thing, and also it's just going to be out there forever now, and, you know, word of mouth as well, so.
All right, well, again, thanks for participating, and we'll talk to Jack. GG's, Drew.
GG's, thanks for having me.
All right, Jack, hello, how's it going?
Good, and you?
Good. So, any initial thoughts on your run before I dive into my list I have here?
Well, there was no elemental protection tonight, so that meant a whole lot of game overs.
Yeah, I think you saw the reset screen a lot, which is unfortunate because we didn't have the nice fancy splash screen. It was just the regular splash screen, but most of your wipes were of the of the variety in Kefka's Tower with Flame Eater, which is where the fire elemental protection might have come in.
Yeah, and then I reset out of Spicy and Magimaster. The Stooges got me. All those fights, if you had one piece of elemental protection, they would have gone a lot better.
Yeah, I think the Floating Continent wipe was probably the worst one, right? Because that was was that the second boss or the first boss in Floating Continent?
It was the first boss, but I had just about won the fight whenever I finally lost, so yeah. It wasn't a quick death. It definitely cost me a few minutes.
Yeah, so you did find the Super Bowls early in Figaro Castle, but you also found a lot of multi-part bosses, which also is not that good for Super Balls, so hence why, there was a bit of trouble here and there and everywhere.
Maybe. I usually don't like relying on Super Balls, but if you can get a few of them super early like that, you can basically skip your grind fights to get to level 9 or whatever.
Yeah, so I also saw you employing sniper's tactics on the Genji gloves. Love seeing those procs. Are snipers something you often will get, even if there are, let's say, some other weapons that might be available to you, just because of how satisfying the weapon animations and stuff are?
It's not just a matter of satisfaction. Like, in a vacuum, a sniper's better than a tier 3 spell. Like, Realm I had set up as my caster with tier 3 magics, and she was the only character of level that could use snipers, and I'm like, well, she's an attacker now, because those are going to be better in most places.
Yep,
Makes sense.
Yeah, so other than, I guess, the tier 3 Merton that caused you to claw out of the depths and back, any other fights that, we may have missed that you did something cool on?
I wasn't that concerned with the last battle because I had life 3 and quick. I just knew it was going to be a longer fight since I was going to have to sandbag my way through it because I really had no other healing. I had 1 elixir and 1 mega elixir, and like that was it for actual being able to heal my party. So before I went to Kefka's Tower, I took a pit stop into Albrook just to see if, like, please let there be elixirs or X potions at the store would be nice, but nothing. So
There's actually a Minerva in the clock in the relic shop, but I don't know if anybody in your party could have worn it at the end.
I was firmly out of looting mode at that point because the treasure was pretty bad on this one. Like,
Yep.
the Ragnarok I got from a check reward, and the snipers and the Genji glove I bought at a store. So it's,
Yep.
there was nothing but stuff to sell, and like probably the best treasure that whole seed was the mega elixir I found wherever that was. That certainly helped out.
Yeah, especially not having fought Magi Master. It's always good to have a mega elixir somewhere.
Well, it was the rare case of it wasn't offense that was the problem because I had 2 tools users, so I could have drilled them down, but I had no elemental protection, so it's like I'm not even going to try to fight this guy because I know that's just not going to work.
That makes sense. And was that the same thought for Poltergeist as well?
Yeah, exactly. Like at that point, I had 9 characters, so I had so many options, and I had like 6 or 7 espers at that point. It's like I know I can go somewhere else, and I've run into 2 of the nastier bosses already, so I know I'll find something easier.
All right, Dio, anything else for Jack that I may have missed here?
I do recall you mentioning that you definitively wanted to ask him what he was doing. You even made a note about it at one point, and inquiring minds would like to know, what were you thinking?
Yeah, no, Jack said that he wanted some more healing items, which is why he stopped in Albrook. Which makes sense, right? I can get behind that. Life 2 is a great healing spell, but your characters have to be dead, and you don't really want to risk doing that in the final battle,
Absolutely.
I had to take advantage of it when I could. Like I didn't really put the life 3 online until around tier 3 or so, where I knew that the boss could straight up wipe my whole team if it felt like it. So like tier 2, it's like you're not really at a risk of getting a full party wipe there. I think I put 1 up just in case I got really unlucky with 10 hits, but that was about it.
Yeah. It did save you with Goner. I thought it was game over, and I'm like, oh wait, he's got life 3. So
yeah. No, that was a deliberate. Just can I muscle Kefka down here? And the answer was not quite. I couldn't get another physical attack off there, and I was counting health. So that's why I sandbagged a little bit with Shadow there, because it's like I know I need a proc to go off for him to die here, so I really need to swig that elixir, and just in case the proc doesn't go off, because if it doesn't, whatever he counters with is going to wipe me, so I need to wait for my opportunity.
Yep, sounds good. Well, any other final thoughts, Jack, before I let you go?
Let's go, Bruins!
That was the cue for that. Thanks, Jack. Congratulations on your well-fought race, and we'll see you next time.
Excellent run.
Yeah, you know, anytime you wipe a dozen times and you still finish an hour and a half, I think you have to be pretty happy with how things went. So I'll take that.
You were
Yes.
actually ahead of Drew until tier 3, so if that makes you feel any better.
Yeah, that was a very, very tight race all the way up to the end there.
Maybe you should vodcast last week's because I beat Drew by 1 second last week, so I think he was due to get a bit of revenge on me here.
There we go. I'll definitely have to check that out. Awesome. Thanks a lot, Jack.
All right, see yous.
Okay, Dio. Well, all of the runners are done, and that means that we're pretty much done as well. Make sure you follow the runners. Go give them a what's up. You could follow me if you would like to as well. I've done commentary and tracking. I've been DSchwantz27, and thank you, Dio, for doing commentary with me. Always appreciate having a new face around here, and it was a lot of fun.
Very much so. Thank you for having me. Thank you, folks, for checking us out. Be sure to go to the YouTube channel for all of our various wonderful randomizer stuffs and like and subscribe to those as well, because, you know, we need to get more awareness of this thing being out there. The more people who help us spread awareness, the more people we get to play, the more races we get to commentate for you folks at home.
Yep, so ff6wc.com is the website where you could start playing. You could generate your own seeds. We have a walkthrough video series called Moogle's First Seed, where you could actually play the game with a video companion to help you out with all of the things that we sort of discussed and went over this particular race. And we have a link to the Discord on the website as well. Come join us and hang out and say hi. Until next Wednesday, we will be on SpeedGaming at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. So we hope to see you next week if we don't see you before then, and we'll catch you later. Bye-bye, everybody.
Good, everybody.